Mic check.
One,
Tuesday, 2:00.
Minot Talks.
Bam.
It's time.
It's
ready.
time. What a day.
It's a big day.
It's a big day for sure. You've felt that today. You've had a busy morning.
It has been. I've been out around. I've been since about 9:30. I've been going through doing different polling at different sites in Minot. I was at the auditorium. I was downtown at the Ward County Administration Building, and I was at the North Dakota State Fair Center. We did some fun exit polls. We're going to go over with them here shortly. It's going to be a lot of exciting information. We have a guest today too, don't we?
We got a guest today. We're going to look at some data, or are we going to look at some data? What is it?
Data? I'm a data guy.
You're a data guy?
I go data normally.
Data. Let's look at the data.
The statistics of it all.
I'm a data guy as well. Fair. It's confirmed. We know who we are. I heard you had a good weekend.
I did. I was in Medora this weekend. I went down. I saw the Medora musical, went down with some friends, walked around Medora, did a couple of hiking trails. It was a fun time. Best part.
All right. What hiking trails?
The Maha
Day Trail.
Yes.
Okay. And that's a huge one.
Yes.
Obviously didn't do the full thing.
No, gosh, no. Just did the
still be there.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be lost in there hiding in the bushes or something at this
point.
Yeah. Highlight of the night though.
All right.
At the Medora musical.
Okay.
If you've ever been, you know what it's like. It's a fun experience. Sitting behind me and about 3 seats to my right was former Governor Ed Schaefer and his family.
There he was. Did you say hi?
I did. I
got
to meet him. I met him, and the best part, here's the kicker of the story. So it was about intermission. I stood up and I was stretching and I saw him and looked back and said hi and mentioned it, said I was nice to meet him and everything. And the fun part of it, about 20 minutes after intermission, they did a whole acknowledgement section where they thanked everyone for being
all the famous people.
Exactly, the people in attendance, and he was one of them. So
but you already knew.
Yeah, I knew who. That's what I'm saying. I'm glad I did it when I did and didn't wait till afterwards.
Yeah, that's cool. That's neat.
It was a fun time. If you've never been to Medora, I would definitely recommend it. It's a great trip to anyone. It's fun family time. The musical's a good time. There's golfing at the Bully Pulpit Golf Course.
There's golfing at the Bully Pulpit Golf Course. That place, as if they don't charge enough for you to get onto the course. And then they have a course set up that's intended just to take your golf balls. So they rob you to get on the course, and then they rob you while you're on the course. It's quite the deal they have going on.
It's the whole 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
They know you're coming down there, so they gotta get you for what you're worth at that point.
Right. It's crazy. All right, we got a really fun episode today. We're gonna have some guests, as you mentioned. Tim Knutson and a couple guys are going to be on to talk about an event that's coming up. We're going to look at some news articles because it's election time and things are getting a little bit interesting.
It's gotten interesting is a good way to put it. The last couple of weeks have gotten spicy in the election cycle.
Spicy is right. So we have texts that have been going out today.
Just today. Through they were claiming to be KFYR. The news agency, if I'm not mistaken, and they were
unbelievable,
and they were telling people that were subscribed to vote that Julie Fedoracek had exited the race and to vote for Rick Becker. I believe it was it's been a story that's been going around the state, not just town. This has been a state thing. I know the Inforum's posted on it, and it's been a whole thing. I know Fedoracek's campaign.
Both campaigns got a little excited about it, but it's really tough to it's tough to trust campaigns.
It is. It's you get. They might not be lying when they say something, but it's.
These are the same campaigns that Julie Fedoracek's campaign goes and sends out dollar bills that say "In Julie we trust."
Yep. That's definitely gotten some blowback recently too.
On the other hand, you got Becker who goes and hires Dylan Mulvaney to do a faux endorsement of Julie on her new job she's going to be getting in DC, hanging out with the rhinos, which, I mean, that's funny in like your boardroom. I think everyone could laugh at it behind a closed door, the irony of it. Okay. But to go forward with it, that's pretty brave.
Yeah, Becker thinks it's hilarious. If you watch the last debate that the 4 Congress opponents had last week that was hosted in Fargo, they mentioned that and they went over it a little bit, and Becker was all kinds of proud of it. He thought it was a great idea. He thought it was getting great interest in his campaign. Fedoracek, obviously, she was not a fan of it, but with most of her questions, she just kind of tended to defer.
Go Fedoracek. All right. So that's pretty cool. All right. So first off, we kick it off. We find local news. So let's go look at some local news. See what's going on in Minot. One thing that's going on in Minot, okay, and I don't know if you've heard about this, but I heard that at 7 o'clock tonight, there is going to be some primary day coverage.
There is of Minot's elections. Well, the state election, but Minot's election specifically. Yeah. It's going to be right here, live on the Dakotan. Me and you.
Yeah.
Just like this. We're going to be sitting here for about 3 hours.
That's why there's no suits today.
Yes, exactly. Had to go dress down a little bit. It's going to be a long night. It's already been a long morning.
Yeah, for sure. So for that, we have a lot of great names. We have Cheryl Biller and Adam Goldwyn from the Democratic Party that will be joining us, giving us some insights into what they're looking at for primary day, and some things maybe we can anticipate going into the general election season.
For sure.
And on the flip side, we have Andrew Nyes and we have Sandy Sanford that will be joining us, giving us the Republican perspective.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great to see both sides and how they're generally trying to strategize for this fall.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have questions that you're wanting to throw towards them, let us know. Drop them in the comments. We might even ask them.
There's a chance.
We're going to have Jared Hendricks. He's going to be on twice. He's going to give us some insights on the Republican side, what to expect going as the results are released. And then we're also going to go and talk with him later on in the stream once we have some results so we can look at those together. We're going to have Katrina Christensen on.
The Democrat endorsed and candidate for Senate who's also running unopposed. So she will be the candidate for the Democrats this fall.
Right.
That's going to be exciting. She's going to be on live with us to talk about her strategy a little bit, talk about her plans for this fall, maybe.
She has had the most uninteresting primary season.
Without a doubt. Her and Kevin Kramer both. Nothing going on there.
Except she has done a boatload of money, of raising money.
Has she?
Yes. They're on it.
Good for them.
And it's really an interesting topic that we'll bring up because the Democrats have done a very good job of raising money this election cycle.
They've done a lot to reorganize for this year to try and help their chances the best they can. Because it's been, 6 years now since there's been an elected Democrat in the state office. And it's been
they
12 since they were elected.
They might say it's been too long. Exactly. So that'll be interesting to talk with her. We have a request out to someone on the Republican side. Just waiting for confirmation there. And then that's state stuff. We're also we don't know exactly who yet, but we will have somebody
for sure
from some of the city council race, maybe even school board, and potentially the most interesting race in the districts.
Could it be
in Minot area, District 38?
Oh, there we go.
That's the most interesting one.
Yeah, without a doubt.
District 40, there's nobody running against either side.
I thought you were going to say park board. But no, District 38 House is going to be a fun race. It's 3 people going in a very contested election for 2 seats.
Park board might be more interesting. Yeah, three people for 2. And we got some exit poll results that are kind of interesting on that.
Like, as with all polls, what you're going to see today, take it with a grain of salt. Everything is a snapshot in a small circumstance. And it's a limited poll. But at the same time, like Jonathan said, it provides some very fascinating results.
It does. So looking forward to that
without a doubt.
So that'll be this District 38 will be an interesting one. Maybe be able to pull an interview from that, but it's going to be a really exciting episode starting at 7 o'clock.
It's going to be a long night. It's going to be a fun night. We're going to get results live from the Secretary of State's website when they're coming in. We're going to have our computers ready to roll. Going to get the information as soon as it gets out. We're going to give it to you. We might even call a race or two. See how we're feeling.
You might do that.
If I'm getting frisky enough for it. See how excited we are at that point.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. And I'll put a plug out there. I hate this Secretary of State's website.
Not a fan. It's not the easiest to navigate.
I got plans for that, but we won't talk about that right now. But what we do have is somebody has created a site called Leginate, minottalks.com, and they are going to have the election results there as well.
Okay, so we're going to have multiple places to look for results then.
Yeah, which they'll be pulling from the Secretary of State's site.
Okay.
Secretary of State's site always should be the most accurate, but the other site might be a little bit easier to navigate.
For sure, because like you said, the Secretary of State's website isn't the most user-friendly of all the state and county websites that are around.
Yeah. So that'll be very exciting.
No, without a doubt. I look forward to it. It's going to be a fun night. We're going to have, it's going to be a long night. We might even go a little later than 10. We'll see how we're feeling. See if anything's that close.
I feel like right now you're feeling very brave.
I am. This is getting the dander up on this. We're feeling excited. I'm ready for it.
2.5 hours into that, we'll see who's feeling brave at that point.
You're going to see me curled up in the fetal position behind the chair.
Let this end. Be done with.
On the flip side, by the end of the night, I fully expect we're going to be done with the politics stuff for a little while. We're going to be
it's finally going to the
ready
back
to be
burner.
done with it.
I guess the Ward County Commission will be heating up.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially after the write-in candidates come through for that. That'll be an interesting one to see if they are able to process the write-in candidates tonight, or if that's going to be something that takes a little longer for them.
Right. Yeah, that will be interesting to see what the strategy is on that. That would have been a great phone call for you to make.
I should have,
because I forgot.
Even worse, I was in Marissa Hammond's office today too, talking to her about how we could do the exit polls and what they wanted us to do.
Gotcha.
I should have went to her for that and asked if she would have had a comment on it or anything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, exciting stuff. So any big events that you know of coming up?
It's going to be, I think the Hot Tots are playing in town this week. That's always a fun time. You have the Nodak Speedway races on Sunday. That's always every week. They're here in the summer times, every Sunday night. Gotta love doing that.
You going to craft night?
I should go to craft night. If I'm going to or not, it's a different story, but I should.
You should go to craft night?
Everyone should go to craft night. It'll be fun. It's downtown, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I don't know much about craft night. It happens June 17th.
That's next Monday.
Next Monday. Yeah, there you go at the Blue Rider. So
then also for everyone that if you're not aware or if you forgot, the Sunday's Father's Day. Make sure
cannot forget that. That would be a bad deal.
Exactly. My dad's birthday is like right around Father's Day. So often it lands the day of. This year I'm a little blessed. I get a couple days off between birthday and Father's Day.
That's good. Well, we have a couple special guests. We're going to get them added in here. We might have a transition problem, but we'll get it figured out. So we're adding in a couple of guests on screen. There they are.
There we go.
I knew we were going to run into technical difficulties at some point. It wouldn't be the Minot Talk without a couple technical difficulties.
It really wouldn't, would it? If it's pre-show, or during show, at some point, we have to have something.
How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing well, yeah.
Fantastic. All right.
That's proper English. He used the proper English.
Like that.
I said good. He says well.
Yeah. Some people are just like that. They go around using proper English. That definitely doesn't always happen here at Minot Talk. We just get by. English is our second language, I think.
Something like that.
So,
feels like
American's my first language.
Yeah, that's right.
Like it.
That's right. Right now, politics is my first language, and I'm looking to get rid of it. But you guys have an event coming up on June 24th, correct? Whoever wants to take lead. Actually, let's start here. We're jumping right into the good stuff.
Uh-oh.
Let's start on my left. Matt, Richard, and then on my right, Tim Knutson. Thank you for joining us.
Good to be here, guys. Yep,
Okay.
good to be here.
And let's introduce ourselves. Matt, if we could start with you.
Yeah, not a problem. Matt Richard, pastor here at St. Paul's Lutheran Church in Minot, North Dakota. Let's see, I've been here at St. Paul's for about 6 years. Originally from the Botno area. Went to college here in Minot once upon a time. And after 20 years, man, my wife and I went all the way down to California, Missouri, Montana, around all over, and got a chance to come back to Minot, and we jumped at it to get back home. So we feel just so lucky to get back to this area. Ruth's, my wife, has family here in Minot, family up in Botno. Yeah, it's great.
Fantastic. And Tim, we've had you on before, but why don't you introduce yourself once more?
Sure. Yep. So I'm Tim Knutson. I'm with EXP Realty here in Minot, and I'm also a director of development at Dakota Hope Clinic. I was reared in Cartfield, North Dakota, and I went to college at the University of Wahpeton. also known as the North Dakota State College of Science. 5 years to get a 2-year degree, but hey, I knocked it out.
You got there in the end. That's all that matters.
Right?
Very cool.
Persistent.
So there's an event that you guys have coming up on June 24th to, as you said, celebrate life. Tell us a little bit about what's going on June 24th.
Well, June 24th is the 2-year anniversary of the U.S. Supreme Court ending the constitutional protection for abortion. And in the Christian community, we think that's a really good thing, mainly because we are for life. And so we see life as something that's valuable, something that is to be esteemed, something that is to be protected. There's a sacredness to life. And so we support life from the womb to the very last breath. And so we look at that day as a day to celebrate life and to celebrate life of the unborn, celebrate life when it pertains to women and family as well. And so it's to draw attention, a very, very positive spin to that, a very positive day to have some food together, gather together, hear a speaker, and be together as a community.
I think any place that has food is a good place to hang out. So
Right. Free food too, right?
Free. That's even better.
That gets anyone through the door.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Very neat. Where is it going to happen at?
Yeah, why don't you take it, Tim?
At Oak Park. Yeah, it's going to be at the Oak Park, the old band shelter, because we know that's got built-in benches there. But we're encouraging people to, if they want to bring their own lawn chairs, but and then also too, because at 7:00 there's yoga in the park, and we don't want to compete with that. So they're using the big band shelter. Yeah. So
yeah,
it's going to be at the old band shelter. You park anywhere in the parking lots that are available there at Oak Park, and
plenty of
it'll
them.
be starting at 5 p.m. and then goes until 7 p.m. We're also going to have like a jumping castle and hot dogs and some drinks. Pop.
Kids
not
will love
drinks.
that.
I say drinks. In the Midwest, you say drinks that could be construed.
Lemonade.
Yeah, lemonade, Gatorade, water.
Yeah.
And so hopefully the weather's nice, and we're gonna have a couple speakers that night. And the big thing about this too is that we gotta bring this back to understanding that a lot of people that are in favor of what happened 2 years ago don't really truly understand that abortion has not been banned. And there's a misunderstanding what it is. They just threw it back to the states.
Yep.
And so this is something that if anybody is at all interested in protecting life from the womb till death, this is something that we need to be better educated about, because our battle's not over. Now it's thrown back to North Dakota, and it's something that's going to come up every 4 years, and this is, in my opinion, is not something that should ever be voted on. It should be, it's already determined in the 10 Commandments that this is something that we need to recognize, that life is precious and needs to be protected for those of us that are outside the womb. And so we need to continue to educate those that support us, and then hopefully encourage those that are on the outside looking in that maybe are not as educated about this topic to really understand why we are so feverish about this. And it's not just about saving the babies. It's about, as a Christian, it's making sure that people know that they have a purpose, they have a destiny. We're created in the image of God. And so ultimately it comes down to knowing Jesus and making him known.
Are you guys looking at putting forth any legislation so it doesn't come up every couple of years? I know that's a big question beyond the event.
Right. So, this group here is just really like an ad hoc committee. This was just randomly. Yeah. So some Protestant churches, some Catholic churches, we're just putting together this Celebrate Life event at Oak Park. So we're not the ones to talk to about legislation and such.
For sure.
We like to talk about legislation though. So I'm sorry.
Matt, unless you have something else to add to that, Matt.
No. I was going to say that, I've had a couple questions here when I talked to my parish here at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, and they said, well, who's putting this together? And I said, well, we really don't have there's no formal structure. It's just, I got on the phone and I started talking to Tim and talked to a couple other people in the community. And then we met and we're like, should we do this? And we're like, yeah, why not? And so somebody's like, well, I'll get the barbecue grill. Somebody, I'll get a bouncy castle. We'll get a speaker and let's do it. And so there's no official organization, just a bunch of like-minded people that want to celebrate life and want to focus on the gift of life.
It's a real grassroots effort from you guys then.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. And I think that's with a lot of things in life, right? When you have things with the grassroots, you really stay near the subject. And it's unfortunately, and with politics, I'll try to stay in my lane as a pastor, not go into the political lane. But oftentimes, when you lose those grassroots efforts, then you get tied up in politics. You get tied up in pandering for power and all that kind of. And that's really not what this is about. This is again, it's very, very simple. So it's like, what's your agenda? Our agenda is, well, we're celebrating life. That 100%, that's our agenda. We want to draw attention that life is a gift. Again, as Tim mentioned, from the womb to the very end. And it's neat to see. I find it, obviously as a pastor, that's something I deal with all the time, is with life, and especially end of life issues, the ethics of life when people are on their deathbed and so forth. That's one of the primary callings that I do as a pastor, is preparing people for death itself. And so we esteem life in the church, but to see just this mix of people that we have coming to the table so far, moms and realtors and people from all the different vast backgrounds, as well as, me as a Lutheran, and we got some Baptists, we got some Catholics. We're all coming together for that sake of life, which is pretty dang neat to see that grassroots, like you've mentioned there.
Without a doubt. You don't see all three of you guys coming together all the time like that.
I just got to meet one of the priests here in town, and I invited him out for lunch. I said, maybe we can work together on this, and if we get all this figured out, then we can get back to fighting as Lutheran and Catholics that we used to fight way back in the day. So.
It'll be perfect.
Not just the football.
Exactly.
So 5 o'clock, June 24th, Oak Park. What are you guys anticipating the day to be like, the 2 hours to be like? You mentioned there's gonna be a lot of fun things, there's gonna be food. Is there going to be a formal schedule, or is it just kind of come as you please? How is the event gonna go?
Yeah, so we do have a schedule. So Chloe Marie, which you're probably familiar with, she's a local entertainer that's been doing really well. She's going to be opening with some music and singing, and just, as people do come, it'll be pretty laid back. There'll be a couple speakers. One of them will be the director from Dakota Hope Clinic, Nadia Smetana. She'll be talking. And then also you probably know Amber. I know she's been on your show. Amber Videtto from Indy Can will also be speaking. And just a couple of short, excerpts, but it's going to be really educational too. So I really encourage people that to come. Bring your kids, help them to be educated, and just really, like I said, to link arms, because this is a battle for all of us to really continue to realize that it's not over. And there's that misconception that we really want to help people to understand that although this vote was 2 years ago and it is something to celebrate, it's just a partial win until we continue to see a total ban.
Without a doubt. So the battle's just begun for you guys.
It really has. And for you, it's for everyone.
Yeah.
It really is. It's a battle for our nation as a whole. I mean, this is something that we cannot look back on and wish I would have taken a step and done something about it. And
I was going to say too, just the ethics of how we treat the most vulnerable really speaks to culture in general. And you look at that through history in general, how society and culture treats the most vulnerable, speaks volumes about the integrity of the culture. And so, this is something where you said the fight is not over; it's just beginning. The fight will continue. It will continue forever until Christ comes back and sets all things right. This will be a part of, obviously, the church, that I represent, all the churches as well, and as well as not only the church, but Christians in general, to always fight for life. And not to go into deep history, but you look like in the 2nd century in Egypt, that 80% of all the humanitarian works for the dead and those that were dying and the struggling, the handicapped, etc., was all done by 20% of the population, which was Christians, Christians in their vocations. Not necessarily the church per se being organized. It was just Christians in culture taking care of the most vulnerable in Egypt in the 2nd century. So again, 80% of the work was done by 20% of the people. So it's pretty profound. And so we continue that legacy as Christians, that we're for life, to celebrate life itself.
Very
Fantastic.
Good. Well, appreciate you guys joining us, telling us about the event that'll be coming up June 24th, 5 p.m. That's a Monday, right?
Yes, correct.
Monday, June 24th, 5 p.m. at Oak Park. Celebrate life.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Have a great rest of your days.
You
Thanks.
too.
Well, that's fantastic. Be a great thing to go show up to come the 24th. That'll be a great event. Oak Park's always a great time. If you by chance you're watching this and you've never been to Oak Park, fantastic park to check out in town.
It's good to see that Tim voted. So all right, well, yeah, very interesting for sure. So make sure you show up for that. All right, somebody asked about it. It's time for us to spill the news.
Oh,
all right. Of
all the hard
who
work
is polling well in our exit polls.
Yeah. So remember the 3 locations we were at the Minot Auditorium near the Armory where the votes were held. We were at the Ward County Administration Building. We were at the North Dakota State Fair Center. We were there from roughly about 9:30 to 1 today. How many people roughly have we talked to? Do you know?
50.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. So yeah, there you go. I was out running around. Good chance some of you might have saw me there. It was a fun. I thought it was a fun morning. I enjoyed it greatly. For the most part, everyone was great. Like all the candidates love to say the people are always great here, and I can't argue that whatsoever.
You can't argue. Yeah. Well, it's true.
It is.
So,
where do you want to start?
Let's start with city council.
The city council. Perfect. So yeah, just a quick reminder for everyone, 7 candidates running for 3 positions total, 2 incumbents along with 5 newcomers. It's going to be possibly a very tight race. Go ahead. Where do you want to start?
All right. This is what we got. We got, as you mentioned, 7 candidates, 2 incumbents. You broke down the stats, 50 votes. On this one, you get 3 selections, right? And this is probably, I think we need to preface this as much as we can. This is probably very unscientific.
Yes, we are not experts here, lo and behold. I went around, we made a little addition to the website this morning, took it around, just asking people to do the quick survey. I can confirm they all voted.
for the ones that are trying to find the addition to the website, you cannot find it.
Yeah.
It's very private, where you have to receive the link directly. Yeah. So it's not out there just for people to randomly hit submit and try to mess up our data.
How dare they?
Or data.
Data.
All right, city council. This is what we got going on. All right, 50 people submitted. Now, if you submitted, maybe some people only voted. Maybe they weren't within the city limits. Maybe
one more preface as well.
All right.
A lot of people had some write-in candidates they had for some certain elections and races. So
my. Just go with the stinking flow. So go sign some. Write in earlier. Get them on the ballot.
They thought they deserved it when they were there. They're like, maybe it should be me.
You know what? Maybe some people did vote for Kyler. We'll see.
Oh no, not me. I'm saying themselves. Gosh, no, not me.
All right. So 50 for city council, minus city council, select 3. We had Stephen Padragula had 9%. Scott Burlingham had 10%. Leif Snyder had 12%. Mike Geetson, or as Geets, as I finally got to know him on our interview, whether he liked it or not.
Great interview.
14%. Scott Samuelson, 16%. Rob Fuller, 16%. Mike Blessum, 21%. If we were the people that determined elections around here based off of this data, the top 3 is Mike Blessum, Rob Fuller, and Scott Samuelson.
Who, of course, are all 3 running together as a team.
Yes, they are. And then closely behind them is Mike Geetson. And what's really interesting about this data is we'll see how like the top 4, they're really tight in the top 4. Leif starts falling a little bit more behind. But what's really interesting about this, and again, I mean, it's just random data that we pulled. Scott Burlingham and Stephen Padragula are the
2
lowest,
incumbents. Yeah.
The 2 incumbents, but they're the lowest on our data.
Exactly.
And what's like, who knows why? Maybe the people that are voting for them early voted.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And also mentioning that, I saw on a web through the Secretary of State website, over 40,000 people voted early or through absentee ballot.
But that's through the state.
Through the state, yes, not in Minot. Excuse me, that's a statewide thing.
So is that a lot of people? That's not that many people.
Not in the grand scheme.
750,000 or so. So,
some 400,000 or 500,000 eligible voters. Yeah, that's minute in the grand scheme. But back to our city council debate or conversation.
5% or something.
Yeah.
So interesting there to see where they're ranking at. Again, maybe they come out and won this. Who knows? But just in some of the exit polls that we took today, Scott Burlingham and Stephen Padragula are got some work to do this afternoon.
Trending towards not the top to start.
Yeah.
But again, it's a small flash poll that we did this morning, so take it all with a grain of salt.
Join us at 8 o'clock. We'll have data that will be more than just an exit poll.
It's going to be
We'll have the real
exciting.
data, and you can see what's going on there.
Yep.
That's when we'll start looking at those numbers. We'll be live at 7 o'clock though, because we're gonna get some
polls close starting at 7. But remember, North Dakota is split between 2 time zones, so polls don't fully close until 8 p.m. Central.
So we don't want to influence no elections.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start ours at 7 o'clock when our polls close.
Yeah.
U.S. House, we'll look at it. This is a really small, like when you look at the U.S. House for North Dakota, our representative, this is a very small amount of data that we have right here.
Yeah, minute. It's minute for the city of Minot.
Because it's just a portion of the city of Minot. It doesn't reflect the whole state at
Not
all.
at all.
But so far in our polls, Rick Becker in the lead, 39%, Julie Fedorchak, 28%, Trig V. Hammer, 17%. And of course, he's not against Rick or Julie. And then Kara Mund at 13%. And there was some others in there as well.
So for right now, it's kind of shaping up how a lot of those polls have been presented that have come out in the last few weeks. It's a top 2 heavy race for the Republican side of it, of course. It's a top 2 heavy race with a third that's kind of trailing there.
But there's no endorsed candidate on that list.
No, not a single.
Balazs is not represented.
Exactly. There. He's not. I think in the last large poll that was done statewide that was released a week or 2 ago, I want to say Fedorchak was in the lead with 32 or 4%. Becker was at 27. Mund was at, I think, 10. Then Balazs was at 5. So it's really, and you had about 20 or so % that were undecided still. So it should still come down and be very close. It's just going to be interesting to see who ends up taking that statewide lead come later tanight.
I got that data for you.
Oh, fantastic.
North Dakota News Cooperative, WPA Intelligence, graphic put together by the Inform. Balazs 5%. Yes. Undecided 28%. Kara Mund was 10%. Julie Fedorchak 32%, and Rick Becker 25%.
But that was close.
But Minot is flipped with Julie taking in less than Rick in our exit poll. And then on the governor side, in our exit poll, we have Kelly Armstrong at 61%, Tammy Miller at 23%. Honestly, this seems like the most realistic thing I've seen.
I think
because this almost perfectly portrays what we're seeing in the polling data as well, which has Armstrong at 57% and Tammy Miller at 19%, 24% undecided.
So yeah, ours are very close to in line with how the state one has been, and that's the governor one especially.
Yeah, governor one especially. House, like you said, isn't far off. We just have Rick and Julie flipped. And so, hey, maybe that brings some validity to that Minot City Council early exit poll.
That's a thing. You never know.
Never know. We'll find out tonight.
We will. That would be interesting to see how close we end up getting on this.
Yes,
I'm excited.
All right, Minot Park Board.
3 candidates.
3 candidates for two spots, and so we have 35% going to Chelsea Kirkhammer, 33% going to Devin Metz, and 30% going to Cliff Havda.
We haven't made any margin of error percentages, but that is an incredibly close race based on our numbers.
Yes.
That will be, I mean, if our poll has any sort of validity to it at all, that one will come down to the wire and be a tight race tonight.
That one will keep you up till 11 o'clock, but I might call it quits at 10.
We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how excited we're feeling.
Yes, we will. All right. And then we have school board.
Yep. This is also a big one. There are 3 open positions and we have
a ton of candidates.
Yeah,
everybody wants to be on the school board. Why?
I think one big thing, the school board's been running a deficit for 3 or 4 years running now?
Or some would say too long.
Yeah, I think that could be a big reason why you're seeing a lot more turnout come to the school board race. Plus, with the new school that was just built in town, there's been a lot of noise made with that on how it went down and everything. Everything was always public, but it was just, there's some questions that have been raised. So I think that shows why there's a lot more candidates than normal for this race.
We have Bill Ehrman leading the way with 18%, Michael Gessner, 15%, Scott Lauser, 15%, John Kerry, 15%, Lacey Lautenschlager, 13%, Kaylee Borquin, 11%, Derek Trudell, 11%. Very, very tight race as well. Honestly, as you just saw, we have 3 candidates tied.
Like it's based on our polls, this is going to be a very close race too.
What's interesting is in this stuff. This is anonymous, so we don't get to see names and stuff like that.
Not at all.
None of that.
No ages, gender, names, nothing of the like.
It's just completely anonymous. But we did see people that were simply voting on the school board or simply voting on the city council.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting to see that happen, where they made the effort to go vote, but they only cared about one segment.
Yep.
And that's
fine.
That's fine.
We just want you to vote.
We just want you to vote. So this will be another interesting one, though, like you said.
It's going to come down. It's going to be a tight race. It'll be interesting because a few of the candidates running are sitting state legislatures.
If you thought, not you, but
generally,
yes, if you thought that your candidate for school board was a shoo-in, so you weren't going to vote, I would suggest you get out and vote.
Speaking of shoo-ins,
you got a new pair of shoes?
No, not this time.
Okay.
But moving on to that next race.
Oh, there's no shoo-ins in District 38.
Not at all.
So District 40 is there's no unendorsed candidates running against the endorsed candidates. It's a pretty quiet race.
Same
District
3
and District 6 though but that's on the edge of Minot.
Yeah,
District
so
6 is an interesting one.
Mhm.
District 3 isn't doing it this year.
No, yeah, that's right.
District 38, District 40, District 6.
Yeah, you're right. You're right on that.
So District 38 though is an interesting one because for the representative, they have a competitive race going on. We've seen the billboards. We've heard the interviews.
Yeah, we've talked to them all.
We've talked to them all.
You've talked to them all. I've been here.
You've been here. The support has been immense. So for District 38 House, this is a surprising one from our exit poll data.
Yeah.
Okay. We already mentioned we did 3 locations, right?
Yep.
City, Ward County Building, Minot Municipal Auditorium, and State Fair.
So yeah, pointing with the State Fair Center, the likelihood of people being in District 38 is a lot lower. That's on the east side of town. Most of District 38's northwest side of town. So,
and I believe there's locations like in Berthold that you can vote and stuff like that, which also could affect
38
a little bit of 38.
Yeah.
So we probably don't have like the most comprehensive data for 38 that would be possible to have,
but we have some.
We have some, and it's interesting. We have Christina Wolf leading the way with 44%, Dan Ruby with 31%, and Lisa Olson with 24%.
It's a very tight race. Dan Ruby is the longtime incumbent of that house. He has been sitting since, was it 98 or 2000?
2000, I believe.
2000, yep. He's been there for a very long time. His son is a House member in District 40.
Yeah.
Then you have Christina Wolf, who is the former treasurer of District 38, who has been endorsed to run as the other House member, as the endorsed candidate with him. And then we have Lisa Olson, who's the current sitting city councilwoman in Minot. And
right.
It's a very tight race on this one too.
So I think like in the lead up to it, it was interesting because it was always felt like it was Christina Wolf versus Lisa Olson.
That's the general buzz about it all.
And it's interesting to see Dan Ruby kind of stuck in the middle there.
It is. Again, it's limited polling numbers, but from what we have, he is not the comfortable leader of it.
Yeah, not with our exit poll. So crazy stuff going on there. It's going to be interesting to see how all of that shakes out.
Yeah, without a doubt. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a lot to talk about tonight. Are we going to, I know at some point we're going to discuss it. We're going to talk about a lot of the campaign ads and the fiery.
We're going to do that tonight.
Okay, that's going to be tonight. Perfect. So stay tuned. Tune back in. Tonight we're going to talk about how the House has been going at each other, how the governor race has been going at each other. We'll talk a little bit about the debates. It's going to be a fun time.
But one thing we'll do right now,
yes,
that has to do with the campaigns
there's more.
Is what we mentioned. Well, we'll adjust to them in a minute because I want to talk a little more about what we were talking about. But is some of the text messages that have been floating around the phones, maybe not the interwebs, but the phones this morning
that we were talking about at the start of the show for sure.
Right. I think that's really interesting.
It really is. We could recklessly speculate on this all kinds of ways.
And we won't.
No, we're not reckless. We won't do that. But we could. So let's just run through these. We're just going to run through. We'll run through these all really fast. So if you join late, we'll run through all these really fast. So you have those. And then we're going to switch and talk about some of the state stuff. Definitely.
Again, but Minot City Council, there's obviously 3 seats that are to be filled. We have Mike Blessum pulling in 20%, Rob Fuller pulling in 16%, Scott Samuelson 16%, Mike Geetson 14%, Leif Snyder, 12%, Scott Burlingham, 10%, and Stephen Podrigula, 9%. For the U.S. House, we have Rick Becker, 39%, Julie Fedorchak, 28%, Trygve Hammer, 17%, Kara Mund, 13%. For Indy Governor, Kelly Armstrong, 61%, Tammy Miller, 23%. Minot Park Board, Chelsea Kirkhammer, 35%, Devin Mance, 33%, Cliff Havda, 30%. They're trying to fill 2 seats over there. Minot School Board, Bill Ehrman, 18%, Michael Gessner, 15%, Scott Lauser, 15%, John Kerry, 15%. So they're trying to fill 3 positions, but there's a tie for the second and third spots. Lacey Lautenschlager, 13%, Kaylee Borquin, 11%, Derek Trudell, 11%. And then District 30 House, we have Christina Wolf at 44%, Dan Ruby at 31%, and Lisa Olson at 24%. So very interesting data there.
Again, take it all with a grain of salt, but I think I am very glad that we could bring it to you.
Absolutely. Feels kind of fresh.
It does. Who's done that in Minot before?
I'm sure someone will let us know now.
I bet someone has at some point, but I don't know who or when. So let us know if you do know, please. I would love to see that data from the 80s.
On June 10th, there was this article that was written.
Yesterday.
That's yesterday. It was, as the Inform so stated, opinion by Rob Port. Mysterious texts urge Democrats to vote for Republican House candidate Rick Becker.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. I wonder if it was specifically targeting Democratic voters, if they got like a Democrat calling list or something and contacted them that way. Or that's interesting to see how they did that. And I wonder why Becker too, that they had them.
Yeah. Well, because they said in the article, it was mentioned that Democrats, or in the text said that they felt like the Democrats had the best chance of being able to beat Becker.
Okay.
So that's why they were encouraging Becker as the one. Port actually got a quote from Goldwyn on this. Adam Goldwyn. So we'll talk with Adam Goldwyn about this as well. He's the chairman of the North Dakota Democratic MPL. But it's crazy. Adam mentioned he hadn't seen them, but they didn't do it. So the Democrats didn't send the text.
Oh, really?
So there's people, and this is why it's interesting, because it happened again today, and nobody's taking the blame for these texts that are going out.
Every campaign that people start saying they might be responsible for it, they're all claiming that they had nothing to do with it.
Do you know how stinking hard it is to send out a text like that? It's not as easy as you think.
Not mass to over that many people too.
There's a lot of times verifications and stuff that has to go on.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to see, like, we do this in the marketing business, and it'll take, depending on how everything's done, it can take a few days, weeks to get an approved number now.
Sure.
There was a lot of changes that were made at the end of last year that really affected the ability. Before, you could get a number instantly.
Just like that.
Yeah. And you could start sending texts, but now there's a process to it. And so it's interesting to see how this is all happening.
So theoretically, they should be able to trace this back to at least someone.
Yeah. If somebody looks hard enough, they should be able to trace it back.
Yeah. That's the question, is how hard is it going to end up being looked into? Probably depends on who the winner is.
It was also interesting why they threw a picture of JFK and his wife in the text.
That's interesting. JFK and Jacqueline Kennedy were okay.
So this is what the text read. Trygve Hammer will be the Democratic nominee for Congress. Republican Julie Fedorchak has been receiving millions of dollars from dark money lobbyist groups due to her corrupt business dealings. She represents all that is wrong with the corrupt establishment of the GOP. We need a JFK revival in America. And that starts with flipping North Dakota blue. For Democrats to win in November, we must take action and vote in the Republican primary. I lost my place. For the candidate who will receive no money from the special interest or lobbyists. This is why thousands of Democrats are now pulling a Republican primary ballot and voting for Dr. Rick Becker. This is our JFK moment. Vote Rick Becker in the GOP primary tomorrow.
Wow. So just first off, they're comparing Trygve Hammer to JFK. That's incredibly high praise. First off, aside from that too, one really interesting thing, I know they talked about this on the last debate for for House. A lot of conservatives and Republicans are concerned that Democrats could come and vote in the Republican primary.
Yeah.
But the name you typically hear thrown around is Kara Mund.
Right.
She ran as an independent 2 years ago. She is more pro-choice than pro-life. It's an interesting that's normally the name you hear people talk about when they say Democrats would go vote. She's not a Democrat, but she's the one more associated with the party in that grand scheme of it. And so for them to go and say vote for Becker instead because they think Trygve Hammer can beat Becker easily, that's an interesting take. And also not saying it's the Democrat NPL party at all, but whoever set this up.
So, and what's interesting is Trygve Hammer has been said that his campaign had nothing to do with the tax. And he said, I've been going around telling voters who want to vote for Kara Munn to vote in the Democratic primary.
Sure. Okay.
Which is interesting.
Sure. So
if you're going to vote for Kara, don't even do it. Just go vote Democrat.
I suppose I can see the logic there that
Why?
way. Well, in theory, if Mund were the one to be the nominee, she's much more moderate. He thinks that she would be if she were to, it's a general election thing. He's thinking about who he has the better chance to beat come the fall. If you look at some polling, and I can't remember where I got it, maybe 538. One of the most unfavorable candidate based on the polling data is Rick Becker. So theoretically, if they think, people want to vote for Mund, who might be the one that's trying to pick up whatever independent vote there is in North Dakota, she'd be the one that could grab it. So instead of them voting for her, he wants them to come vote Democrat. That way, come fall time, hopefully, if whatever plan works out, Rick Becker is the nominee against him. He thinks he would have the best chance that way.
Do you think that's true?
Pure speculation, not a clue.
No. Do you think Trygve Hammer has the best chance against Rick Becker?
Personally, probably, just based on polling data. I think Rick Becker he's very well known in the state, so a lot more people have an opinion on him, whether it be positive or negative. And through the polling, a lot of people have a negative opinion on him. I'm not saying that I think Trygve Hammer would win. I just think I think Trygve Hammer could think that he would have the better chance against Becker than Fedoracek or Mund or potentially Balazs.
Interesting. I don't know.
It's
polling data would be interesting on that, but it seems like if you had Kara Munn, because she's such a weak Republican, that you would have people that would be Republicans that actually have to be balanced out. Well, which would be better for us, Trygve Hammer or Kara Munn?
Without a doubt.
Whereas Rick Becker, he may be whatever he is, and too polarizing for some people, but some of the platform things he's definitely going to be all in on. So
and he's going to appeal to a lot of North Dakotans with that too.
Right. So it'd be interesting for sure.
No, without a doubt.
Who knows? We'll probably never see that go down. So
yeah, the odds of that is some alternate timeline kind of stuff right there. But
but this is not the end. And we're just finding this out that Fedoracek is holding a press conference responding to election interference. So basically, there was a text today that
a separate one from the one we were just talking about yesterday.
Right, and we're just looking at this right now. But basically, there was a text that was sent out saying that Julie Fedoracek dropped out of the race for North Dakota's House seat. And it was text messages that cited KFYR, and KFYR, like that we didn't know.
One of the biggest live news sources in the state, and they immediately came out saying they had nothing to do with that. It's not their texts.
Yeah,
all of that.
And Fedoracek's campaign released a statement. Those text messages are categorically false. Because that makes it bigger. Categorically
of course,
false.
got to have the right terminology.
And we'll be taking legal action against those responsible. We've had great momentum over the past couple of weeks as President Trump endorsed Julie, and we've earned the support from thousands of North Dakotans across the state. There's also a quote somewhere that was part of the original thing that said Cleary was blaming Becker's campaign, but then Becker's campaign came out and said, no, we
had nothing to do with it.
We didn't know about it.
Yeah, no, it's just interesting how there's that much of it happening and this close to the election, and it's something I don't think we've seen in North Dakota before to this extent, and not this direct and newsworthy. At least if there's been something in 08 or 2010, I don't remember it by any means, but I mean we haven't had this contentious of a primary since maybe 2018 when Kelly Armstrong ran against I think Tom Campbell, but even then he was the heavy favorite.
I'm seeing on KFYR's site what looks to be a screenshot of the text, and it's interesting because it's what it does is it cites headlines such as Fedorchuk withdrawals bid for North Dakota GOP ... With Fedorchuk, I can't talk anymore, withdrawals from Indy GOP U.S. House ... And what is referencing is when she withdrew at the convention, and then it goes on to the reporter as how did you come to that decision in that moment to after the second vote to withdraw. And then Julie said what she said at the time. And then the text ends with, thank you, Julie. You did the right thing for the Indy GOP. We'll be a united party heading into November.
That's incredibly interesting how they would word it like that too. That took a lot of forethought to do it to that extent.
Some very ornery stuff going around.
They had to do a lot of digging to get to that. That's an interesting take.
It's really sad, honestly.
It's disappointing, frankly. Like I was mentioning earlier, I don't think we've seen this in North Dakota before.
Not to this extreme.
Not like this, without a doubt. And it's like you said, it's disappointing. I thought North Dakota was, without sounding too grandiose, I thought North Dakota was better than that. I mean,
yeah,
it's one of those things. We have it's that North Dakota nice, mild-mannered people. And then you see things like this, and it can be incredibly off-putting to some people.
Right. So reports are saying that are not true. If you receive the text, ignore it. You can still vote for Fedorchuk. You can still vote for Becker, Balaz, Mund,
Charlotte.
You can vote for them all. Vote for whoever you feel is the best.
It is solely up to you. You are the voter. We don't want to influence your vote. We just want you to vote.
That's right. So, all right. Well, you ready for tonight?
I hope so.
I
say that now. Come 7 o'clock, it might be a different ball game. It might be a little shaky then, but or maybe on the flip side, about 9:30 tonight.
9:30, you might be shaking from lack of sugar.
Exactly. I'm a big guy, so I like to eat.
Well, I'm not saying that. I know that eventually I'm gonna need some food in my life.
Yeah, we got to eat something.
Yeah. So tonight, let's look at this again.
Go over it one more time here. Kind of go over a general idea of how we're going to be talking. We're going live at 7.
You want to make any endorsements for any races?
Not publicly.
He doesn't want to do it.
No. How about you?
No. Flat out no.
I don't have anything to disclose. I haven't. I think it'll be exciting. I'm ready. I will accept the results of the election.
Oh no. I think you're forced to accept them.
I don't have a choice. It's not my choice.
I don't got enough money to fight them. So
I ain't got that. I got about $10.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of that, if you want to sponsor, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right. So tonight we have Jared Hendricks joining us, Andrew Nyhus, Sandy Sanford, Cheryl Miller, Adam Goldwyn, and then we will have somebody from the city council.
At least someone, hopefully a couple, but
we're gonna do our best to have someone from the school board. We'll see on that one, and potentially someone from District 38 joining us. So. Gonna be a full night, man.
It is. It's gonna be exciting.
Katrina Christensen, I missed her. Maybe we have some.
Might have a big national candidate on tonight. That would be exciting.
Hey, Katrina Christensen is a big one.
Exactly. So, that's what I'm saying. That would be exciting.
And hopefully someone from the Republican side as well.
We gotta at least try. If they don't want to come on, that's on them.
Hey, we have a request out. We tried. It's up to them.
Exactly. We've reached out.
So
it'll be an exciting night. Do you have anything else you want to add today? Before we head out?
I'm hungry.
I am too. I haven't ate yet.
All right.
Early morning.
So yeah. Well, thank you everyone for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed those exit poll results that we had. And what's crazy, we were talking about this before we went on.
Yep.
We don't get to do that again for 2 years.
No, it's weird to think about it.
Does that make you want to go back out?
Yeah, I want to keep going. But I mean, at this point, there's no real point because we'll start getting results. I could go out for the next 3-4 hours doing it, but then come 7 o'clock, we're going to get stuff trickling in. So
you're going to get the real data. Nobody would care about Minot's exit polls come November. Maybe we might do it for the county commissioner.
County commissioner, like school superintendent, maybe. Like if there's a race we think would be close, we might get out there and do it.
A local race.
Well, yeah, any of the statewide races. I mean, I can't imagine us doing
We
it.
won't
at that
focus for those. We won't get enough data.
Yeah.
And so yeah, exciting stuff. Well, make sure you come back 7:00 tonight. We'll have the link out there here shortly, so that way you'll be able to save that and
hit the bell for the notifications. Get notified before we come live.
That's right.
Subscribe, like, follow us on Facebook, all the things.
Join the decoding community.
Please
We've been growing fast recently, guys.
Yeah.
So we appreciate that. We're thankful for that. Keep that going. We have some goals this year, so
fingers crossed. Big things to announce coming up this summer too.
That's right.
Those big projects on.
We got like this new podcast that we're gonna build. I don't know. We'll probably
might have some
know more about that.
We might have some documentaries in the works too on North Dakota.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. You'll have to wait and see.
I've heard there's crazy stories like trains crashing and stuff in North Dakota.
It happened like 22 years ago. There's a real big one.
Wow.
A lot of people affected by that still to this day. We'll have to stay in tune. Follow us.
All right. Thank you for joining us for this episode, and be sure to join us again 7:00 tonight. Thank you. Have a great day.